I have no idea what this will look like when I edit it, but it feels like my hair is blending into the couch in the background. So when I look into the viewfinder, it looks like my face and my white shirt and just all black in the background. Hey, what's up, y'all? It's me, Jennie here. So I have had like a positive amount of response with my story times that I have had regarding firing a customer and horrible bosses that I've worked for. And a lot of you have asked me, Jennie, keep telling some stories. So I thought today I would tell a story. So today's story is about how I had to call the police when I was in hair school. If you want to hear how that story happened, please keep watching. So this story, oh gosh, I went to hair school like maybe 15 years ago. So yeah, this story happened a long time ago. Let me see if I can remember how exactly happened. Okay, so I was in hair school and I was one of the oldest people in my class. I started my hair career late. And now there's a reason why I'm talking about age. So there was this lady. Let's give her a name. Let's call her, what name haven't I used? Let's call her Nancy. Nancy's a nice name. The truth is that I don't remember this customer's name, so we'll just call her Nancy. Anyways, Nancy was a very troubled individual. Very troubled. She was known for coming to my hair school and always causing a ruckus. So the last I heard about Nancy before she sat in my chair is that she came to the hair school and she wanted to get a haircut. She got her haircut and then she just walked out without paying for her service. And when the receptionist and the owner of the hair school tried to contact her, she lived with her mother, and her mother answered the phone. Her mother accused her stylist of being racist and that Nancy didn't have a good experience sitting in her chair because her hairstylist just had a whole bunch of racial slurs and yada yada yada. Anyways, we all knew, or at least the school knew, that it was a lie because they had known that she was a troubled individual. And because it was customer service, they apologized, even though they knew they were not at fault, but they had apologized and they even offered Nancy a free service. 2 months later, Nancy decides to take the opportunity to use up the free service. She calls the salon, she calls the school, she makes an appointment, and all she asked for was a blow dry, a style or a blow dry or just something, not a haircut, because she just got one. And this is where I talk about age, was because they knew, whoever was booking her, they knew that she was troubled, and they felt that the most patient person and the most mature person could handle Nancy, and they thought it was me. So I get Nancy, and when I see Nancy's name on the schedule, I notice there's like a little red dot beside her name on the computer, and I have no idea what that means. I'm just a student. So I asked the teacher, like, hey, what does this red dot mean? And she saw her name, and without even opening her file, she's like, oh, her. Jennie, we gotta talk to you. Like, I have to talk to you about this individual. So she pulls me aside that day and she talks to me about Nancy. And now Nancy was scheduled to come to me at 3:30 in the afternoon. I think I was speaking to my teacher at around 12. And so she tells me this. She's like, yeah, you know, she's a very difficult individual. You know, my teacher tried to be very professional about it. And she said she's difficult, and we felt that because you are the most mature person here, that you would have the patience to handle her. And I'm thinking, okay, like, what's the worst that can happen? Sure, I'll deal with Nancy, and if I can't deal with her, then I'll just call a teacher, and then you can deal with her. I mean, no big deal, right? So 3:30 rolls along. Nancy comes, and Nancy has her hair up in this like big bun. And I'm thinking, okay, well, you know, I don't see what the big deal is. I'm having a conversation with her, and she's like a nice person. Like, I don't see anything wrong with her. We shook hands. She sat in my chair. I asked her what she wanted. She said she wanted a blow dry with a braid across the side like this. And she said she had to be out by 5 because she had an interview to compete for a Miss... I don't want to say the background, so a Miss Ethnic contest, right? And so I said, okay, well, you have a lot of hair, I can tell by your bun, so, you know, let your hair out and let's wash your hair. So she's like, sure. She takes her hair out of the bun, okay, and her bun is like up here. She takes it out of the bun, and her bun is still up here. Like, there's like the hair tie is off from her hair, and I'm like, how is your hair up here? Like, gravity tells me it should fall. So I put my hands in her bun, and it is like one big dreadlock. Okay, and I want to say her hair is naturally curly, and her hair, if she were to comb it, was all the way down to her butt, dry. And I'm thinking, what the hell? How am I going to comb this out? Like, I can't comb this out. So I say to Nancy, listen, I have to get a teacher because I'm thinking I'm going to need help if you have to be out of here by 5 o'clock. And she says, sure. So I call my teacher, and I tell her the problem. And I'm like, her hair is one big dreadlock. I have no idea how I'm going to comb this out. And it's going to hurt her if we choose to do it. Like, could you talk to her and just turn her away? Because there's just no way. So my teacher comes over, and she puts her hand in Nancy's hair, and she's like, there's no way. Nancy, I'm sorry. Like, we cannot do anything about this. It's going to really hurt your head to try to comb this out. And Nancy then pulls like a total 180, and she starts making these racial slurs, not to us, but she starts saying, it's because I'm of this ethnic background that you don't want to touch my hair. It just sucks being a minority, blah, 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 like just screaming at me and my teacher. And we're like, hold on, this has nothing to do with your ethnic background. It has everything to do with, like, we don't want to put you in pain when we comb out your hair. And not only that, if you have an interview to go to because you want to compete in this Miss Universe pageant thing, and you have to be there for an interview, there's no way you're gonna get out of here by 5 o'clock. She calms down, and she says, fine, you know what? If you think you can't do it, she points at my teacher and she says, I know you don't have authority to turn down a customer. So call whoever it is upstairs, because that's where all the bosses are. Tell them to look at my hair, and if they can't do it, then fine, I'll walk away. Great. My teacher gets on the phone, calls one of the bosses who is upstairs, and we'll call this boss, we'll call her... Oh, I'm just like drawing a blank. We'll call her Barbara, okay? So my teacher calls Barbara, who is one of the bosses, who has the authority to tell Nancy her hair can't be done. Please leave our school. She comes downstairs, and I don't know what is up with Barbara. She looks at her hair, She looks at it and she's like, oh, no problem. No problem. We can comb this out. And me and my teacher are like, how? She's got to get out by 5. Barbara tells me to go get another student on the floor who is not busy and will section out her hair, and me and the other student, Barbara, and my teacher will all go at it trying to comb her hair out, because there's this trick. Barbara knows to take tangles out of her hair. And I'm thinking, this is like a dreadlock. I have no idea like what trick you know, but okay, I'm a student, what do I know? So I find another student. Me, Barbara, and this other student, my teacher had to go off and she had to deal with her other students. We are now at the sink, and Barbara is telling me and this other student, if you douse Nancy's hair in conditioner and let it sit for like 5 minutes, then you'd be able to comb out all the knots. Now, I can't say anything, but I knew that that's not possible. Like, yes, I know of this trick, and I know this trick works with small knots, but I didn't know it works with like knots this big. Like, no word of a lie, it was this big. Like, huge, huge. So anyways, we're at the sink, and my teacher, sorry, not my teacher, Barbara, unscrews one of the conditioner bottles and like douses the customer's hair in it. And she's like, okay, well, let's massage it in and let's wait 5 minutes. Okay, mind you, Nancy's got to go by 5, and by this point, it's like now 4:30. Okay, we wait 5 minutes, and Nancy is like, listen, time is ticking, like, I gotta go. And Barbara's like, don't worry, Nancy, we got this. We can do this. You'll get out on time. Okay. So, all of us had combs in our hand. We had brushes in our hand, and we're trying to go at it. We are just trying our hardest to like take the knots out of her hair. And right now, it's 5 o'clock. It's 5 o'clock, and the school is closing, and all the students know that like something is happening in the basement area because they're all watching, right? And me and the student and Barbara, like, we're tired. We are so tired trying to comb this dreadlock out. Finally, Barbara calls another teacher who was on the floor, who had his scissors, calls him over. Okay, mind you, we had not made any progress like combing this dreadlock out, none. And by the way, Nancy is crying at the sink because we're tugging so hard, it's like coming off her scalp. Like, she's crying. She calls the teacher over, like, you know, really quietly so Nancy can't hear. And Barbara takes his scissors and starts cutting into the knot, the huge dress. She starts cutting into it. And every time she cut into it, me and the student would cough, or we would start talking, so Nancy wouldn't hear the snip of the scissors. Well, what happened was, every time the teacher came back to snip a little bit into the dreadlock got easier to comb out. By this time, it's past 5 o'clock. All the students on the floor have been dismissed to go. The only people who are on the floor are all the teachers, because I guess word got around the school that this particular customer is here and we're all having trouble with her. And the only 2 students are me and this other student, still trying to comb out Nancy's hair. I had no idea, Barbara had no idea, and this other student had no idea that the same teacher with the scissors had come from behind and tried to snip into her dreadlock again. But we had no idea, so it was quiet. Like, it was quiet. Nancy heard the snip of the scissors, and she freaked. Like, freaked. She got up, and her hair, like, it now was probably 75% dreadlock, like, just fell and it was like, and you know, there was conditioner and water all over the floor. She turned around, she got up from her chair, she turned around, she saw the teacher who was cutting in her hair with his scissors, snatched the scissors out of his hand, and she screamed at him, and she's like, "Don't cut my hair." She took the scissors out of his hand and she stabbed him with the scissors. Like, it all happened in a split second. She stabbed him with his scissors, like right here in the shoulder blade, because he tried to protect himself and he turned around and she stabbed him. And thank goodness the other student, who is a black belt in karate, jumped over the basin to, I guess, break up the fight, and he pinned Nancy down, and she's like screaming, and I'm just shocked. I'm shocked, and Barbara is talking to the other teacher with the scissors, who is in shock himself and has like a pair of scissors sticking into his shoulder blade, and she's asking him if he's okay. And there were other teachers in the background, and they're calling me, and they're like, "Jennie, call 911, call 911." And I'm like, oh my god, okay, I'll call 911. I ran to my station, which was across the floor, and I got my phone and I called 911. And like, everything was such a haze at this point. I remember I had to stay. All the teachers were attending to the other teacher who was just stabbed. The student still had Nancy in like some sort of like MMA move lock on the ground, and Nancy is screaming at him, telling him to let go of her. And I just remember being shocked. Anyways, I know I had to stay because cops were called. We had to give our statement. So anyways, I don't know how long had passed. Now it must be like 6 o'clock, 6:30. The cops had arrived, and they arrived pretty quickly, and there were two men. And by this time, Nancy had calmed down, and she was still pinned to the ground by the student. And my teacher is telling the student, don't let her go because she's crazy. The cops had come, and they were two men. They had told the student to let her go, and they will take it from there. And so the student let her go and said, "You know what, like, everyone, like, stay calm. I'm gonna let you go, and the cops are gonna cuff you." The cops come and they handcuff her, and she is now ranting and raving about how she doesn't want to be touched by a man. She doesn't. And so these cops are like, oh my god, are you serious? And because, you know, I am where I am and we live where we live, the cops had to call their police station to ask for a female cop to come to frisk Nancy. And so now I remember looking at the clock. It was 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock. Okay, remember the school closes at 5. It's now 7 o'clock at night, and the female cop finally comes, and she frisks Nancy. At that point, Barbara tells me and the student to go home and to come back tomorrow and forget today ever happened. And so that's what pretty much happened. And and somewhere in between the cops pinning Nancy down and the female cop coming, the paramedics also came to take my teacher to the hospital, who was stabbed in the back with the scissors. And that is how I called 911. The next day, we all went to school, and we were given like a brief update as to what happened, and charges were laid against Nancy. Barbara had to take a day off because she was just so stressed about what had happened. And the teacher in the hospital, he ended up being okay. And there you have it. That is the story about how I called the cops on a customer. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all down below. Or you can catch me on all my social media, which is right here. That's spelled kiss.jennie. No, that's kiss.jennie. That's spelled kiss.jennie. Jennie with an I-E. Or if you want to catch me in my last video, just click right here. Or if you want to subscribe, click on my face right here. I upload videos every Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And I will see you in my next video. Bye-bye.